Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Police and Fire Emergency Committee, June 27th, 2023. I call the meeting to order. Any of the conflicts of interest? We see none. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask under approval of agenda, I have a Zoom meeting I have to attend. You have under reports 6A to G. 6E, could I ask that to be moved up to A, so E becomes A and then follow suit, B, C, if that's all right?
So you want to put E up to A,
Yeah,
and what about G?
just, and let them follow suit because
Okay.
that is, and under introduction of new business, this is just a notification for the next meeting. Could we just get some a jurisdictional, well, I should say jurisdictional scan of what is happening in other jurisdictions when it comes to electric scooters? There's been a lot of issues over the last few weeks, and I know the numbers are increasing, and so I know Halifax is looking at something, or considering some options, so not to be dealt at this meeting, just for the next standing committee meeting. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. So does everyone approve of moving?
I actually have a question,
Oh, sorry.
and I'm not sure procedurally if this is the right place, but is this the appropriate time to ask for a deferral of an item on the agenda? Is this where we do that, or is that come later?
What's your?
Procedurally, I think you have to wait for the agenda item to be on the floor to ask.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Then I'm all good with the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So does everyone agree to move E up to A? Councillor Beck?
Yeah, that's fine. I guess just under the orders of new business, or again, procedurally, if His Worship was adding the scooters in, there was some items from the old minutes that were going to be added to future meetings as well, and I would like to add warming center and cooling centers to that too. So the items that were there, in addition to the scooter, I'd like to see the update on warming, cooling centers, what our protocols will be around that. Just a discussion around it, just so
Yes.
we see where we're at, where we're going, how we're going to deal with that, because we're coming upon warmer weather, and could very well be a reality for us coming forth. So
Excellent.
if we could have some
So
discussion
information
around that as
issue
well.
for our
too.
next meeting. Cindy, you recorded all that, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, just on that, I agree with Councillor Beck, but I'd like to just refer to them as reception centers or comfort centers. I think it covers all the areas.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that is an item for the
Yeah.
next standing committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you very
idea.
much. Okay, adoption of the minutes for May 23rd. Moved by Mayor Brown, second by Councillor Beck. Any of the business arising from those minutes? We see none. Okay, let's go. The first report. E is now became A. Where are we at here? 282, 284 University Avenue update.
Chair,
Oh, sorry, go
is
ahead.
is this the part where I ask for deferral, or do we go through the report first?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, Chair. At this point, I would like to ask for a deferral of the item that we're now putting on as the first item, to ensure that the family has actually been communicated to, because at this point, they had only been given notification as of yesterday. And from my understanding in our last discussions, both in council and in our protective services meetings last month, it was not only agreed to go through the inspection process with the family, but it was also then to communicate the results to the family to come up with solutions-based, but they were only notified late yesterday. So I'm asking for a deferral until the family can have the information and discuss it with the chief of police and whatever other operational piece needs to be done first. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I just add something
Yes.
on that? This, again, is just a recommendation to council. So there will be an interim period between this meeting and I believe our meeting in July is July 10th. So those discussions could take place. All we're doing is, like, I asked that we looked into this before, and we moved it forward, and then it was stopped at council because we wanted more information. Looking through the documentation, Chief Mamie and Chief of Police Brad McConnell, Trevor Eisner, I believe Deputy Fire Chief Kent Mitchell was involved in the inspection. Thoroughly, there's a thorough, like a very good report in here. So I'm not going with the deferral because I'm thinking, my view is that there will be time to move it from today's meeting and to have any discussions with the affected party between today and July 10th.
Councillor Beck.
Well, I guess the motion's there. Is there a seconder? I guess is the question before we go any further, right? I'm not prepared to second it, but I don't know if there's.
Well, there's only you and
I
your
don't know.
worship that are involved.
I'm not prepared to second it, and in respect to the deputy, I understand what she's what she's communicating here, but I think there will be an opportunity for the parties to meet and to look at some possible solutions before it goes to council. This is just a recommendation to council, and again, the research that has been put into this, and I've read the documentation, and well done on, well, here's a clear example of working outside the silos, and I know our Director of Corporate Affairs hates to hear that word, but here we are working outside the silos with police, fire, public works, and also planning. So well done, and I think that this report now will become a public document because we are in a public forum, and I believe I'd like to see it just move to the next stage.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'll just save my additional comments then for after the report is presented.
Yeah, and, and this was on, if I may, this was on the floor last month, and I had some questions from councillors about building inspectors and everything. We went that extra mile. We did this, and we heard through my last 8.5 years what the staff recommend. We should be following their procedures, and this is my personal opinion on it, that it should be moved on, but I don't have a vote in this, so are we willing to move it on to council after
Chair?
reading the report? I mean,
I think we just go through. I think we just go through and hear the update, and then we go with what we were normally having, because I think we don't have a seconder for the deferral, so I think we just move to and then the deputy mayor can express whatever wants to be done at that time. I think we can have discussion then, but I think we have to hear from the
who
chief.
takes this
Mamie.
file? You, Deputy Chief? Want to speak on it today?
Chair, I know that all departments have worked on it, but I believe we're taking the lead.
Okay. Well, we all received the report the last 3 or 4 days, and we had a chance to read it. So do we have any questions on the report, I guess? Like instead of reading the report right through again. Would anyone? Well, Councillor Beck, you okay with the report that came through? Any questions on it? Mayor Brown?
He wants to speak to it?
Hi, thank you.
Go ahead, Deputy.
And yes, the report is very, very detailed, very accurate, and I appreciate the work the staff has put into this file. But I'm still going back to process, and in my opinion, we've skipped a step in the process, which was, it was agreed upon by council last month and protective services last month, that the report, once it was done, would be shared with the family to give them ample opportunity to work on a solution. But instead, they only found out about it by looking at the agenda and then requesting a copy of the report. They were not given that. So to me, that's the one step that is making it for me not the right process. So we've skipped a step, and I would like to see that step completed. And, but like I say, I reiterate, kudos to the staff for working so hard on this file. So I will not be supporting this to go back to council, because I would prefer it first to have that step completed, to have for all the information for council first. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, the duty to consult on any issue that comes to any of the standing committees, I think goes to this public forum that we're in now. Now it becomes public information. So the Standing Committee for Protective and Emergency Services are discussing this issue now. So the duty to consult is part of any process that we have in this chamber. And as I said, today is our Standing Committee meeting for Protective and Emergency Services. The report now is public, and our regular monthly meeting for council, which this recommendation will be going to, will be an opportunity for the two parties, or whatever number of parties, sit down with the affected party and go over it. And if there's a resolution before our July 10th meeting, then this may be struck off the agenda. So that's why I'm just, again, the process has to continue. And Deputy Mayor Yankoff, if we're looking at duty to consult on all issues, then get ready for anyone to say, you broke process. You should have consulted us before you discussed any of this issue in that public forum. That's why we have to be careful in how we respect the process. And I think the Chief, Mamie, and the Deputy, Sean Coombs, along with our new Deputy Fire Chief, Kent Mitchell, have been around long enough to see and understand that there is a process. I'm just going with the recommendation, Mr. Chair, that says right here that the committee supports the recommendation by Trevor Eisner, Chief of Building Official, to have the property demolished at the earliest possible opportunity, and that a resolution be forwarded to council. So we're forwarding a resolution to council. Now, there's another possibility of renovation, which I think is in section 5.9, whether it's demolished or renovated. That can be discussed by the parties between now and our regular monthly meeting. Thank you.
Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And I would just add that I completely respect and hear what His Worship has said and agree with him. However, when it was spoken to council and to in our last Protective Services meeting that we would be letting the family know the results of that, then we've already opened Pandora's box by committing at that time to work with the family prior to it coming back to committee. And perhaps maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but that's my understanding of the file. Thanks.
Again, Mr. Chair, just a quick, sorry, Councillor Beck, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy Police Chief Sean Coombs or Fire Chief Mamie, Deputy Fire Chief Kent Mitchell, was this report forwarded to the aggrieved party? Yes or no?
Chair, Your Worship, I can't speak to that positively, that the family has been given the opportunity to read this report. I just don't know at this time. I can find out, but I can't say for sure.
I don't know. Could I ask our Director of Corporate Affairs if the report was forwarded?
Sue Fraser, would you like to take that, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through to the Mayor. I spoke to the bylaw officer this morning prior to this meeting just to confirm receipt, and he did confirm that the family has received the report and have acknowledged the recommendations. And so we do know that notification has been made, and they do have an actual copy of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, and I don't know, we can dance around this for the next 6 more years, but what do you want to do? Councillor Beck, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if I recall where we were at the last council meeting, there were still some questions about, one of the largest question was the fact that structural assessment had not been completed because the owners had not allowed entry for planning to get in and do a structural assessment. So that was one of the components that was saying, can we go in and can we possibly salvage the building, and can we go in and do some remediation along that lines? Or is it a straight demolition? So, and then there was still some uncertainty, I think, amongst council at that time. So that's why it got referred back to us. So it's being referred back. This is not a new issue. This is not an issue that there was a very high probability that this was coming back at the next council meeting, because we said that at that time. And the instructions were to have the police chief and the fire chief get a building inspector, go in, do a firm, appropriate, detailed assessment, get it done, and report back to us for recommendations. So the recommendation has come back, and the family has been notified, but this should not be new or revealing information. I think, I agree with the mayor. I think we have to continue on, still continue to work with the family to see whatever possible options are out there. I don't think anyone's shutting the door on that. But there has to be movement going forward. So I would be supportive of the motion that is in front of us today.
Okay.
Chair?
Oh, sorry. I couldn't see your, I can't see your light. Okay, sorry.
Thank you,
Deputy Mayor?
Chair. And just a point of clarification, the family only received this yesterday afternoon, and that was after they saw the agenda and asked for some clarification around it. So if it was not for looking at the agenda, that's what prompted them getting a copy of it. It wasn't because it was sent to them freely. So anyhow, I
And to
respect the
answer
work of the
that,
committee, so we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's, like, that's not council's role to have that, like, that's operational, and that's staff that did the inspection, and everything too, which I thought they would get a report last week, for example, or something along that line. They have a chance to review it, but that's either here or there. Okay, the motion.
Well,
Go
thank you, Chair. And you're right, it is not a council role, but it's council's role to ensure that process was followed. So from an operational perspective, if they were supposed to get a report in due time, saying that they got it late yesterday is not in due time. So you're right, it's an operational piece, but it's our role as council to ensure that we follow process. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, again, due process is what we've been following. Councillor Beck clearly stated that at our May 23rd meeting, I have the minutes right here, just like you do. On page 2, it was moved by Councillor Beck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, that a resolution be forwarded to Council for Public Works Manager to be authorized to demolish and/or renovate the building located at 282, 284 University Avenue, deemed necessary by our city building inspector and Charlottetown fire inspector. So that's the resolution that was forwarded on May 23rd. That went to council, the June 12th meeting of council. There were issues about the family wasn't consulted, and that we should do a thorough inspection. The family was notified that we were going to do a thorough inspection. We knew that this process, the process for me has been very open, transparent, and accountable with the report that we have within our package today. So I get a little bit wary about someone when it's stated that we didn't follow process. We have followed process, and it has been thorough. And again, I respect the staff that put all the work and effort into the background that is in front of us. Again, go back to May 23rd, moved by Councillor Beck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, that a resolution be forwarded to Council for Public Works Manager to be authorized to demolish or renovate. So here we are today, an opportunity that will forward this on to Council for July 10th for the parties to get together and look at maybe possible resolutions. But that's the process. So to say that we usurp the process or we're not respecting the process, I think the duty to consult is what we checked off that box. Should it been 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours? That is a call that I'm not qualified to make, but the information has been sent out, and now there's an opportunity between today's meeting and a regular monthly meeting of July 10th for the parties to sit down. So process to me has been followed. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the motion's on the floor to move it to council for our next regular council meeting. Do I have?
Need a mover in a second.
That's what I'm asking for a mover? Moved by Councillor Beck, second by Mayor Brown. Councillor Yankoff, nay. Okay, thank you. All right. Let's go back to fire operational. Chief, please.
During the period of September 16th to June 19th, fire department had 4 general inspections. 12 inspections.
Is your mic on, Kent? Sorry.
Sorry about that, Chair. Chair, during the period of May 16th to June 19th, fire department had 4 general inspections, 12 inspections with hazard compliance orders issued, 2 inspections closed, 4 fire investigations, 4 education sessions. The number of emergency responses were total 107, with District 1 responding to 71 and District 2 responding to 29. There are also 7 fire inspector callouts. During this time period, training involved first our critical incident stress management rep, Cindy McFadgen, attended a CISM workshop held by the province. Our members also completed incident command training, live fire training, rescue and ventilation operations, as well as pumping practices, and our new 1 3/4 hose deployment, motor vehicle accident practice, and incident safety officer training. Department activities included, with the fire department, worked with other city departments to raise awareness with the public on seasonal fire hazards, including Fiona debris related and burning restriction requirements. The department is also involved with other city departments and stakeholders on many upcoming events around the city to ensure public safety for all residents and visitors, including this past Sunday's Diverse City, Sunday Farmers Market, Natal Day, and Canada Day celebrations. We also recently hosted the Brain Injury Foundation Barbecue and would like to thank all city staff and participants for making this a very successful event. I do have 2 additional notes to add to this report. At the last committee meeting, Deputy Mayor Yankoff mentioned training through the Atlantic Veterinary College, and we can confirm that a number of firefighters are scheduled to attend a large animal rescue course on August 3rd and 4th, as well as we are pursuing other training opportunities through the Vet College. We can also confirm that this morning, the posting for the vacant fire inspector position was posted. So that's great news. That's it for the operational report.
Thank you, thank you. She, I'm starting to sound like the deputy mayor when she talks to her dogs. She's very pleased over that, and which all of the pet owners are probably very pleased over that. I think it's a great, it was a great question you asked last month, Deputy Mayor. Do you have any comments, or?
I don't know, are we allowed to go and watch? No, that's nice. That's reassuring, I know, for pet owners. That's great. Thank you for that update.
Councillor Beck, any questions?
Just one, or actually a couple.
Uh-oh.
Overall, Deputy Chief Mitchell, through the chair, maybe if that's okay. And when we look at our total responses, we see 107. I know we went through I know it fluctuates from month to month. Is that is that a standard number, or is that a elevated number, or is that, where does that fall on the, kind of the bell curve of response rates? Anybody?
Thank you, Chair and Councillor Beck. Yes, that's a higher number for a monthly call volume. We've been increasing in the probably last 8 years. It's been incremental, but then last year took about almost a 20% jump due to Fiona primarily. But our calls month to month have been increasing since, and yeah, we're on pace this year with about 100 a month. You can see where we're around the 1,200 level. Well, last year when we just topped 1,000 was the first time we had ever done that.
Oh,
So yeah, but like I say, there was 250 Fiona-related calls there that have obviously pushed that up. But we've been tracking upwards. But in some ways, that's a good sign because more people and more businesses are having alarm systems input. Activation, suppression systems are activating, we're getting those notifications. Homes have systems in them now for alarms. So we're getting a lot of calls of that nature too. Really, the volume of working fires as such hasn't really increased, thankfully.
Right.
But yeah, it's a bit of an increase over our annual.
guess that shows the system's working. Good, nice. Just one other question. I've had several, and I know I've had the conversations with the deputy chief on this and some with the chief to a lesser extent, and had conversations with Public Works and environmental and sustainability people as well too, with regards to fallen debris from Fiona. And of course, the fires in Nova Scotia raised the heightened awareness and I guess concern levels right across the city. It's, you know, it's one thing to be watching fires that take place in Northern Ontario or out in Alberta and they're a little further from home, but when it starts hitting in Nova Scotia, it starts to kind of, you know, get people a little bit more unsettled than they might have been otherwise before. And I guess I'm just wondering, in terms of the risk level with regards to leftover remaining Fiona debris that we have, because we have it in Victoria Park, and I know there's been a tremendous amount of work done by all kinds of people on that. And we should be very appreciative of that, so it's not questioning any of that. I guess really just in a succinct question could be, how comfortable are we with the risk level associated with remaining Fiona debris that is around in various pockets? And we know we have different pockets that are in maybe more concentrated in other areas than they are in different parts of town. So maybe if you could comment just on the general level of, I guess, general comfort level, if you will, with regards to where we are with regards to those fire risks that could be posed by remaining debris left over from Fiona. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and Councillor Beck for that question again. Yes, we, as you mentioned, there's been a lot of work by city personnel. Our fire inspector, our deputy chief, they've been involved. We've had members from Parks and Recreation, obviously, with many other parks being affected. Public Works, because they do a lot of the removal. And they've had some outside expertise brought in regards to the tree specialists and the arborists that they brought in to assess the downed the trees. We do have, I won't say we're comfortable because you never are, and as soon as you are, that's when something will happen to make you uncomfortable. But we are continuing, and it's a continual risk assessment of the areas. We prioritize them with the Parks and Recreation team, with our fire experience. We've prioritized them for where we think some of the fall needs to be removed first rather than last. So we're identifying some of those areas. And as complaints come in, and they continue to come in from some of our residents, we send a team out to make that assessment, and we make a decision on whether there's going to be removal or not. Many of the downed trees, fortunately, from the tree experts, I guess is the best way to give them terminology, are the hardwood, and the chance of you know, a minor fire on the ground igniting that and causing more of a fire is more minimal than some of the smaller trees and smaller branches that are down. So we're assessing those areas, making them clear, and continually trying to make the area fire safe. But it is a concern, obviously, especially when we see the other provinces experiencing what they are. But being in the city and the municipality, not like HRM, which is so vast, and you see where they're fighting so many fires. Our main concerns, because of our small pockets of green, are really our wildland and urban interface. So where the more rural parts of the island and the agriculture that's there, and it's going to feed a fire, say, if it was a forest fire, meeting where it's going to come to the city and how we're going to prevent that if possible. So it's that interface that we're mostly concerned with in that fire perspective. But due to Fiona, all of the internal falls have been assessed, and we're continuing with that.
Okay.
Hope that answers the question.
So safe to say you're as prepared as can be, and I like your point about you never be comfortable because you can never let your guard down. So good. Thank you.
Councillor, Deputy Mayor, you any questions? Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Deputy Chief. Now we'll go to the chief, I guess. Update, fire.
Thank you, Chair. Just two quick updates. They were here both for last monthly meeting as well. Department is continuing to work with Opta Information for the Fire Underwriter Survey. The information is still being gathered, a lot of it, and they'll be planning their on-site visit in the coming months. We still hope for a late summer, early fall compilation of the report. The other note to make mention of is our staffing update, and fortunately today, so I don't have to say we are awaiting the posting, the fire inspector posting has been made today. That's internal, so hopefully there's some candidates from the Charlottetown Professional Firefighters Association that exist, and if we don't, or we're not able to find a suitable candidate, we'll be posting external in a couple of weeks. Also make mention there, we're expanding our entry-level seasonal or relief firefighter role or positions. So we'll be having a competition this summer, and that is a full interviews, fitness evaluations, and also qualifications and training that go along with the ELS positions. And we'll be running that through the summer months here through the HR coordinator as well. Those are the two reports, Chair.
Thank you, Chief.
Just a quick question.
Really?
Yeah.
You're getting as bad as Mayor Brown.
I know. I know that Chief McConnell had indicated in the past that we had a shortage of 10 officers on the police force. If you're looking at the ELS, what number are we kind of looking at to get us up to what you would see as a complement, or if we're looking to hire the ELS positions? What do you get any kind of idea on what the numbers might be for that?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry,
Councillor Beck.
Chair.
There's not a hard number for that, and they are sort in regards to the terminology for the firefighters doesn't really work. They're not entry-level seasonal. They don't go away every year and then come back for a set number of weeks. Yeah. They are relief firefighters, so they don't have a set schedule. They only backfill the shifts of the career firefighters.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at a complement. Right now we have 5 available. We'll be running, we're actually growing to 6 with one member just returned from Newfoundland who got his qualifications, which was great. But we'll be looking for, 2, 3 more if we can get to 8, 9, 10 even. Okay. What it does is provide them with more training and more opportunity to fill the shifts of the operational firefighters. So, yeah. But no set number.
You going to train the staff in here like the province is doing, training all the civil servants going on firefighting? Are we looking at that here in the city?
We're looking for
well
a show
too?
of hands.
Sure, Sue Fravor, she's bucking to be trained as a firefighter over there.
That'll go over well, wouldn't it? Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief. Now we move on to D, Police Canada Day updates. Deputy Chief Sean Coombs.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'd just like to start off by saying Chief McConnell sends his regrets there. He has a family situation that he has to be there for. So we'll start with Canada Day. We're ramping up our operational plan for that day into the evening. Charlottetown Police Service will be involved in the 2023 Canada Day celebration at Victoria Park on July 1st. Officers will be present to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of the residents and properties surrounding the venue site. Canada Day attendees, organizers, and performers to ensure the orderly flow of people and vehicles to and from the site and to maintain order. There will be officers in uniform as well as a plainclothes presence from the hours of 12 o'clock PM till 11 o'clock PM, or at the conclusion of the fireworks, or if any other matter comes up, we will hold personnel over.
Very good. Any questions for the deputy chief? Mayor Beck? No, you're okay. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Oh, you do?
I have a question on the taxi fares, but I'm not sure if we're there yet or not.
No.
Yep.
No. Okay, thank you for that, deputy chief. And I'd like to say it was a real honor. We got our police chaplain sworn in there last Friday. Sue was there, and the mayor was there, and I was there, and Reverend Scott McIsaac. And I think it's just another fantastic resource for them, for our officers and staff and everything. I'd like to go and sit down with them if there is an issue or something that ever come up. So first of all, we got our dog there, that's captain, and now we got our chaplain, so maybe we had the whole roles reversed, but anyway, it's there, and people are very pleased to see him there. So I'd like to thank you for the invitation on that too, Deputy Chief.
And Chair, just to follow up on that, it was greatly appreciated to see all the councilors and city staff there to support us. It was a big event, and it meant a lot to the chaplain as well. So thank you for the attendance.
Okay, F, Police Taxi Bylaw Review. Of the Deputy Chief, of the taxi bylaw. You'll be okay, Norm.
Chair, as far as taxi bylaw, that's been looked into. The report details are as follow. Due to inflation and other associated costs, there has been a request from the taxi owners to increase zone rates by $1. Fares for taxis in Charlottetown are regulated by our taxi bylaw. The bylaw splits the city into 6 zones and specifies the cost for traveling north to south between each zone. These costs are currently Zone 1, $7.50, Zone 2, $8.25, Zone 3, $8.75, Zone 4, $9.25, Zone 5, $9.75, Zone 6, $10.25, up to $17. East and west travel includes a 25-cent increase for each boundary line crossed, and there's a $2 charge allowed for each additional passenger over 11 years of age. The last increase to these rates was in April of 2022. The rate increase at this time was $1 per zone. And the recommendation would be to approve the increase to zone rates by $1 per zone.
And this was brought on by the Taxi Association, am I correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Councillor Beck.
Yeah. I have no problem with increases. I understand the cost of everything going up. It's not really my question, but when I was looking at this, I noticed there was Good Taxi was 75 cents across the board. Yellow Taxi was $2 across the board, and then moved to iPad meter, and then a couple of others. Looks like PEI Taxi is nothing. City Taxi $1 and Co-op Taxi $1. I'm just wondering why we have different rates for all these different companies. Through to the Deputy Chief, through the Chair.
Go ahead, Deputy.
Chair and Councillor, I believe what that document is referring to is the different companies, what their opinion the rate should be increased by. So every company would have a different opinion
Okay.
on what they think the increase should be.
All right. I just have one other comment, I guess, that I have. I've had a lot of people, I don't use taxis myself, but I've had a lot of people who've told me that they're very confused about they will go one night and pay a certain rate, they will go another night and pay a certain rate, and they really have no idea what the parameters are. And again, I'm not speaking from personal experience. I'm only speaking to what people have told me in the past. So if I look at this, just so I understand it myself, so the zones go north and south, correct? They're broken down, the city's broken down in a north to south grid, if you will.
Yes,
Am I
in the
correct?
zones.
So if I'm taking a cab and I'm staying in zone 1, do I pay $7.50?
I believe if you stay in the zone, that's what the rate is.
Yeah, that's your rate.
Okay, and if I go from zone 1 to zone 5, I'm paying $9.75? Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then I'm paying 25 cents for each boundary that I've crossed.
That is also correct.
Okay, so, all right, so it's hard to interpret, and I'm seeing our communications officer here, and I'm wondering if it might be worth our while to have a communication message about how our taxi fares work, because I'm having a hard time really fully understanding it, and if we're looking at having people know, and I don't know what level of receptivity we'll get it, but at least we can do our part to help explain how that could work with some examples, and maybe if there might be an opportunity for us to enlighten people as to how our fares actually work, because there is a lot of confusion that does exist in terms of how people arrive at what they're paying, and it changes from seemingly trip to trip. So I don't know whether that's a possibility or not. Just a thought.
Go ahead, Deputy Chief.
Councilor, you'd be absolutely right that it is confusing, and we've heard the same issues. It's convoluted, and you need a calculator basically to figure out. That's why everyone has a different experience every weekend or with travel. The real answer, in my opinion, would be a meter system like in other cities. However, there seems to be some pushback to have the meters, which would give you an accurate rate more often. And I would also agree with you that if this is a system we keep in place as a city, that some sort of messaging of this information be a public document and pushed out through city communication.
Okay.
And just on that note, thank you for that, Deputy Chief. What is I noticed a yellow taxi is going to be moving to an iPad meter in the future. What's that all about?
I'm not quite sure.
I'm not either, so. Yeah, we had to get back to Councillor Beck, and I know for years we've been talking about, like, people want meters in taxis, and that's the Taxi Association has the final say in that, I believe, Deputy Chief, and there was pushback through the years. And some people have great experiences, some don't, so, we just, like, it's not I don't think it's our role to, to say what's going on with the Taxi Association. To a certain point, we can set the rates and make sure they're licensed and inspected, right?
Chair, that is correct. The main role, the lead role of Charlottetown Police is licensing and inspections. We sort of take a backseat to let the market decide how they want to conduct business as far as fares.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Deputy Chief. Now, we have a resolution to move the council.
I have my.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have my light on.
Deputy Mayor?
Yep.
In your college of worship.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. One of the things I've noticed in other municipalities in terms of cabs is they also have the information posted on their windows in other municipalities where it's very clear, like if you're going from an airport to the downtown core, it's crystal clear what the cost is. So I might, just as a point of best practice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. Okay, let's go to G, police, dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly properties. It's a resolution. We have it in our package of the properties. There's a whack of them. Do I have a motion to move that to council, or does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, moved by Councillor Beck, second by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. That moves on to council. No use reading it all.
Can I just have one question of?
Yes, sir.
Who do I address this through you? I'll address it through you, Councillor Ramsey. And so what do we do? I know that there are several properties here that are repeat offenders. This isn't the first time that we have dealt with some of these properties, I know. And there are other times, or other properties I know that aren't on this list, which will probably end up here at some point in time too. What do we do for the, how do we treat repeat offenders? What, is it all the same? Do we treat them the same every time that we have an incident, or how does that work?
You know, it's great you brought this up, because after our meeting last night, Councillor Matart and the CAO and I were talking about this. It's so frustrating, and I was thinking about it when I got home last night. It just, we as a corporation or the managers or something, or police, we got to start hitting these landlords with the fines in certain places, because if you only got a small fine for your garbage being blown all over the place, I don't think it's the city's job to be sending out the city staff to clean up garbage day in and day out. And I personally don't think the fines are strong enough. Like, I could be wrong with that, and maybe I'm sort of speaking out of school here, Sue, but I'm just saying it's so frustrating, because it is the same properties that come up 50% of the time, 75% of the time. And if I'm only going to get a $100 fine, big deal. So they got to educate their tenants, I guess, or something along that line.
Well, and I think, to your point too, Councillor Ramsey, is if we're going to be moving along in increasing density as part of our official plan, we're going to have more of a lot of this stuff is improper sorting and overflow of garbage and stuff like that, right? So we're probably going to see more of that as we're moving down the road. So there is one part on education. There is a part of working. We do have a contract with GFL, I think they're called now, Island Waste Management, we used to be. So this isn't going away.
No.
And it's probably only going to get exacerbated over the course of time as we move to increased density. So I think it's something that we may have to have a look at how we do work with. Is there a carrot approach? Is it a rod and stick, or is it totally whacked over the head? I don't know what the right answer is. I'm not suggesting one over the other right now, but I'm concerned that over the course of time we're going to see increased prevalence of this, and we're probably going to see more repeat offenders as well too. So I just something to think about and how we address that on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, and I'm going to refer to Sue, our director, too. Sue, maybe you can have this conversation with our managers and our CAO and things like that, and see what is at the end of the road for everybody, because we all know there's 10 wards in the city. We're all getting calls day in and day out, and a lot of it might take 5 minutes to clean up. Others, it might take longer. And, we talk about fire hazards and all that stuff, but at the same time, people want to be clean and safe. So maybe if you can do that for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to try to add value to the conversation. I think Councillor Beck covered it very adequately, and with respect to, it's a multi-pronged problem. Increased density is going to exacerbate this, there's no question about it. We do have repeat offenders that we know we're enabling bad behavior by going to apartment complexes where sorting is not being enforced. There's not proper location of the bins. People can just randomly go in and put garbage in other people's bins, so you can't specify it to a tenant. So there's all kinds of issues, and I just wanted to let you know that the Public Works Manager and I met last week with officials from IWMC to talk about all the issues around, especially apartment complexes and the garbage issues there. The long-term solution is to build in permitting during the permitting process, when you're doing any kind of development, proper storage of garbage units. So lots of times, new developments will have them underground. They're away from public domain, out of sight, less likely to have issues with rodents and that type of thing. So that moving forward and new developments will be a big part of how we deal with this situation. The short-term problem that we have is that we have absentee landlords that don't even have property management people to contact. So you're left at the mercy of individual tenants as to how well they're going to do that. So IWMC is trying to get to the front of that by doing public education sessions with people that are in the buildings. So target specific properties where we know it's a really big problem, and have educational sessions with people who are new to the city and don't understand sorting. There might be language barriers, there could be all kinds of things there. So they're looking at that public education piece now, and they're also going to work with us on how to deal with managing those properties that are our repeat offenders. So we are working on that, and we're probably going to be coming back to you when you talk about the carrot, whether it's the carrot approach or whether we go hard on some of these owners. Some of these owners that we keep going back to time and time again, we have to hit them with more than just the cleanup. We have to start introducing fines on top of the actual cleanup costs. That's the only way we're going to deal with those particular problem areas. And so that's got to be something that comes back to council to give the Public Works team the authority to also add some sort of fines, whether it's through summary offense or I'm not sure what our,
Yeah, that was
our
basically my
process
point.
is going to be. But it will, there's all kinds of
Oh,
pieces
yes.
that need to come together in
Yeah.
this. Thank you.
And that was basically my point in one conversation with the councillor last night, is one place that he went down to see because he was getting complaints and they weren't sorting their garbage, and then so the landlord took away the green bins and locked them all up. So that only sort of compounds the issue again, because they're just gonna, but that's no solution either. So, I appreciate if you could look into it, which you're already doing right now, and then sort of bring it to council and sort of go back from there.
That's good to hear. Thank you for that, Sue.
Is that it, folks? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Is this for?
That's your own personal? Yeah. Okay? Oh, sorry,
Chair?
Deputy Mayor?
I thought we brought up last month that we would bring up this month, just looking at the noise bylaw. Can that be put on next month's agenda?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a more, there's calls and complaints coming in. I certainly don't expect staff to speak to it now, but I do believe we were going to throw that onto
Yes.
maybe an agenda
Yes,
item.
and that,
If we could do
and then I was getting the odd email too for helmets for bicycle riders too. So Deputy Chief, maybe if you can put this on for the agenda too for next month, of the noise bylaw plus helmet safety. I mean, just not on scooters.
Yes.
Yeah, things along that line, and anything else along that line between now and our next meeting, just give us a call, as long as we have
Yeah.
enough
And-
time,
And
put it
the only
on.
other question I had was, what are we doing with this piece of paper?
Oh, that's just for your own copy, that shows that it isn't just one property we're looking at. That's what our fire chief, or our fire inspector and our bylaw officer, put together, but that's gonna be added on more and more as they find out more properties, like you might phone.
Right.
look
Is this
for work.
list going to be included in the monthly meeting of council in their package?
That's, it's up to us to do that, if you'd ever like to do. I mean, that was just an update because the mayor wanted an inventory taken.
Yeah, I think it's a little preliminary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a working process. Now, there might be 10 properties on this today. By next month, it might be 15. So it just keeps adding on and on and on.
Yeah,
Or vice versa. It could drop too. But that was one of the questions too, that, and that's why I had that printed up, because people were asking for an inventory of certain properties, that it just isn't one property that we're discussing.
Right.
There's about 10 there.
I just,
We could add it on if you like.
no, maybe I'm just asking for, in terms of transparency and openness, like, that I just wanted to make sure that the list, if we're circulating something in an open meeting of council, then I think it has to be part of the agenda. It can't just be something that just
I just gave for your own information. You can do whatever you like to do with it.
well, no, I think no, we can't do with whatever we like with it. I think we need to follow whatever the process and procedure is with getting a sheet of paper. And maybe I could ask through the chair, we could ask our acting acting CAO to maybe clarify for us
Sure.
what we do with that.
Sure, I have no problem with that.
Through the chair.
Sue, did you ever receive one of them? Oh, it's right here, dear. Yes, it's informal and incomplete. It wasn't provided as part of this. No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for a point of clarification, if this is a document in the making, if you will, it's probably not ready for public consumption at this point in time. So I would suggest, though, to the Deputy Mayor's point, that when we have documents in the making, that they don't get broadly circulated until
Okay.
we have a comfort level that this is
Sure.
something that we can actually discuss
Yeah.
at the standing committee level to take forward to council or whatever have you. I think all that needed to be discussed for the purposes of today's meeting was that the commitment to develop a complete inventory of properties that our departments are looking at is
Yes.
underway.
Yeah.
And that when, it's always going to be a live document.
Right.
It's never going to be a finished document. To the fire chief's point, there'll
Yeah.
be some taken off and some added on as time goes on. So I think all this committee really needs to know and appreciate is that there is a living document out there that is tracking properties that we're taking a look at. That's all you
There's more
really
than
need
one
to know.
property that we're looking at, exactly.
Well, yes,
Yes,
obviously,
that's right.
so.
Okay.
But the commitment to have a tracking document in place has been completed.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
has been started.
Started.
Yeah, that commitment has been
right.
completed. Yeah, that would be my understanding
that's
too.
right.
So I think that's
Yeah, the process.
a good, accurate description there, Sue, of where
Okay.
we're at.
Motion to adjourn. Councillor Beck, Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Thank you very